Hey, I'm Deuce Mason. That's Morgan Reagan. We're, of course, live on 1140 AM, 96.1-2 FM if you're on the HD part or in an EV, I guess.
Good.
The app. But, of course, we're live on YouTube, youtube.com/Sactown Sports 1140. And we're welcoming in a guy. There's no one who has covered the Kings longer. He's worn the same hat since he started covering the Kings way back when. You see him on the Fox 40, the Kings Beat podcast. He's the one and only Sean Cunningham. Hi, Sean.
That is far too much fanfare, and there was a little bit of cap in that, but I appreciate the warm
There was
intro.
a cap. I literally mentioned your cap. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
hi,
Sean,
guys.
Do you go with the same hat a lot? No? Or...
I try to do like the same style of hat, especially when it's TV neutral. But today, yeah, I kind of threw on a little color there for you. Same kind of little blue Hurley.
We appreciate you hanging out with us, Sean. Nice Kings win last night, man. 28-21. Seems like good vibes. What do you think of the win last night?
Pretty impressive. The bounce back. I think they did what they were supposed to do. You go in there to Minnesota and you're just hoping to basically split. I think that's the most ideal. But yeah, certainly they go in there and run into a little adversity. You get a lot of problems along the way with officials, and Domas looked pissed from the beginning, and I kind of enjoyed that, showing a little bit of fire. The ejection thing was a little bit funny. I mean, obviously he wasn't ejected, but just obviously went in the tunnel to cool off, and I think a lot of people thought he was ejected.
I think are you sure? We don't know, do we?
I did a little bit of poking around, and it looked like they thought that he thought he just had to go blow off steam and cool off because it was within a dead ball situation. I don't know if I'm
I think he thought he got teed up. I thought there was a second technical called, and I guess that's like the challenge too. Is the broadcasters aren't traveling on this road trip, so they're in San Francisco. They're just going based on what they see. So I know we were all kind of left to what's happening. He comes back in, fouls out of the game at 53 seconds to go. But no, I'm with you. I dug the fire. It just felt like a competitive game, and it was like, all right, that first game in Minnesota, I felt like they were just not physical enough, especially defensively. They kind of got punked. I just thought they'd play a lot better basketball, and I was more encouraged by the defense than anything.
Well, especially from that second unit, man. I mean, you've had, I think when we talked earlier in the season, we were really loving what we saw from that second unit. They seemed to have – that was at a point where really Terrence Davis figured to be a part of the equation. And defensively, it was probably the best we'd seen them play. And I kind of go back to that Warrior game in San Francisco, that first one, where I felt, that was where they took some strides forward and things were really kind of – cooking with that unit, and then it got wonky along the way. I think last night was a little bit more of true to form of what we had grown to expect from that unit, and certainly Terrence Davis, him playing the team defensive concepts are so much better without him, but individual defense, I mean, he can bring it, and I think, someone like Malik Monk, who I think Kings fans would hope had turned a corner, he has really struggled with a shot of late, and really Mike Brown wasn't too concerned about his shooting woes as much as he is, but the turnovers is where the frustrations lie all the time. I love to see him attack the paint on the offensive end. I love to see him play make, and I really love the way he rebounds the ball. But I just feel like his swagger is so important to this team's success, and when you see him, blending well with Trey Lyles, who just continues to impress. Man. I mean, that guy. I think they're getting a lot of house money out of him that they didn't anticipate having.
Yeah, I think with watching that game with Trey Lyles and the way that he stepped up last night, especially as soon as Domas fouled out, it seemed like, they could go in this direction when it comes to your backup center. Mike Brown was asked about it after the game, and he kind of pushed it to the side when we started talking about Chimezie Metu and still having Rashawn Holmes. How do you feel about Trey Lyles being that next guy up when it comes to the backup center?
I mean, yeah, he's kind of earned it in a way between him.
I agree.
Not to take away from Metu as well. I think both of those guys have earned the opportunity. You want someone to be able to rim protect ideally, but without a true rim protector on the team, you've got two guys that can at least can kind of muck up the game a bit. And what I like, especially if you look in that overtime session, I mean, all five Kings offensively are playing out on the perimeter, and you're forcing a guy like Rudy Gobert to come out. And once he's come out, you just go right by him. And they did. I mean, Trey Lyles hit that corner three. I think Keegan hit a three, and then Lyles is back out on the perimeter again. Now Rudy has to go and protect, and he blew right by him for that dunk. So
that was a nasty jam, dude.
It really was. No, it really was. And Rudy was just left. I mean, he had to go out and contest, and it was, to see the Kings, because look, the Wolves were leaving them wide open on the perimeter, and they were feasting. They were taking advantage. So Trey, and I see it right there in your comment section, William. I mean, Trey's IQ is there. I mean, that's how the benefit of really having a veteran player like Trey Lyles on the team who has just about seen everything, and now his body is in probably the best shape of his career. And he's a guy who's totally understood the role. And look, if he's not playing a week and a half from now, and he finds himself out of the rotation, his approach is still going to be just the same.
Sneaky athletic. He surprised me a couple of times or last week and a half with some of these jams. I'm like, where'd this come from? He had one game last week where he took off. I know it literally wasn't from the free throw line, but in my mind it was from the free throw line.
Yes.
And he dunked. I'm like, how did he do that?
Some of his misses are even just as impressive. Like the fact that I was like, whoa, you really thought you could finish that? And to see that he almost did. Yeah, pretty remarkable.
I think the other thing that jumped out to me from last night, it was Fox coming out aggressive from the get.
Yes.
And I know there's been so much made about his fourth quarters this year, clutch time, and his numbers are really good in that area. But I felt like they needed him to kind of set a tone yesterday, and he did that. It really from the get.
I wouldn't say that he had it circled on his calendar, but D'Angelo Russell has always been a guy that just kind of haunts the Kings a little bit, and everyone can remember that 27-point quarter. I mean, Fox, I think, wants to erase that memory as much as possible because he hasn't really played well in a lot of those games. So I think he was kind of looking forward to this one. May have had it etched on his calendar, I don't know. But I mean, him in the fourth quarter, I know there's all that talk about him being this clutch player in the fourth quarter, and can he just let that be spread out among all quarters. Look, that dunk that he had in that first half, I think really kind of got him going. And I can't kind of reflect back on just the past month or so, and especially going from like Christmas time, that long home stretch, he has like these incredible dunks in like almost every single game that are really highlight worthy. And it's just been a lot of fun to watch, man. I really hope, for him and just the growth that he has, whether he gets named on Thursday to an All-Star reserve or not. I mean, I think he's changing the minds of national media, but even coaches, man. Like I've talked to a number of coaches who have, visiting and head coaches as well who have come into the building over the past month or so to just really kind of get opinions on De'Aaron. And if I had those same conversations 2 years ago, they were remarkably different conversations.
That's what's wild about this season. The amount of things that he's elevated in his game, right? Not only his mentality, not only the way that he's clutch in the fourth quarters or his confidence and defense and all these different things. But I was telling Deuce how I love the way it seems like the feel for the game has even elevated for him on such a different level. When he was going at Rudy Gobert last night and just feeling out where he was, and then the finesse off his fingertips and understanding when it needed to be a floater, when it needed to be a jump shot. I think that has taken a total leap this entire season.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he's got a go-to move, and I think the last 2 years, he still doesn't get a lot of fouls called on him or called in his favor, and a lot of that I've argued in the past, and it's stuff that I've talked to other people about is just the fact that he's gone to the paint looking to draw contact and not to score, and sometimes that goes against him, especially for a guy who's a little bit light in the shorts, getting into the paint so much. But this year is a little bit different. I think he uses his body better. I think he understands that he can get a bucket wherever he wants around that paint and free throw extended. And to have those two types of go-tos when you've got a pressure valve, a release valve like Domas is just incredibly it's a lot of support that he has. It's the most support he's ever had, and he's got shooters surrounding him too. So I think his confidence just with the addition of those shooters and Domas there being that pressure release is going a long way for him, and it allows him to take a few more chances. And man, I think all of that just builds up the confidence. And when he sees the ball go in the hoop, then it's going to even be the even more confidence that he needs to be that guy. And he was talking about early in the year, he feels like he can get a bucket whenever he wants.
Do you think he'll be named an All-Star?
I don't know, man. I to me, I think it doesn't matter. I know Kings fans would love to see 2 All-Stars in there, and look, they're up to 3rd now. It depends probably on when coaches turned in their votes, because I think some people may have already had their minds made, and if those were done over a month ago or maybe 3 weeks ago, then maybe not. But I think by virtue of them being so high, it's going to be really hard to keep them off. I look, the success of the team, we always say you have to have success in Sacramento or just put up crazy numbers to be an all-star out of Sacramento. DeMarcus Cousins was that way. He was the last all-star because of that. Domas is a shoo-in, obviously. But yeah, I think when you look at someone like Lillard, who's having just an unreal season, even though the team success isn't there, I think he's going to get rewarded by a lot of the coaches. And maybe Fox can be this year's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because there's no way you're keeping Shai off that All-Star team, even though the Thunder haven't had the success they have. I think what's a shame is, the Pelicans are kind of plummeting. They've lost 9 of 10. They're down to 8th. Zion obviously is a popular player who gets voted in. So, yeah, man, I can see it. I can also not see it. And I've talked to people who think, Denver, because they're going to likely hold on to that number 1 seed, they should have 2 representatives from there, and it's Aaron Gordon is having a hell of a season defensively as well, and coaches like to reward defense. So if he doesn't, I don't think it's a failure. And look, I think it would be fine to see Fox take some time off. Rasay, his wife is due right around that time. So we'll see, man. We'll see. If I was to say it, yeah, sure, I think he should be there, but it's hard to keep some of those other guys off, and with injury replacements, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think Anthony Edwards is making a legit case too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been outstanding, and the T-Wolves are seemingly playing their best basketball without Cat, which is crazy to think about too. Just that fit's been so weird. Sean,
by the way, if I'm Alex Rodriguez and I'm buying the Minnesota Timberwolves like I just did, my first move is when I can, I'm trading Karl Anthony Towns immediately. I'm getting him the hell out of the team.
100%.
Thank you.
100%. Yeah. But they gave him an extension for some bizarre reason, right?
Well, I think
the first thing they do is give him an extension and trade for Gobert. It was asinine. Like they move on from Cat, and you could obviously he's talented, but he can't be your guy. The fit is super clunky. I don't know. I think it's an off-season thing, but they should definitely look to move on.
I agree for sure.
Question for you. I found like the most random stat today. And I don't know how to explain it. It's just a stat. So the Kings' defensive rating at home is 28th. On the road, it's 6th.
Yeah.
It's strange. Why do you think that is? Do you have any theories?
Well, I mean, they're 2 games over 500 on the road right now, where they've played for the most part of the season at a 500 level. I just think, when you win more games than you lose, your defensive rating looks better. I also think, I don't have any answer for it, really. I mean, I think the transition has been there. Their half-court offense is really, in my opinion, really bad. Perimeter shooting is what it is. I think the perimeter defense is better than what we've seen in years past. But my whole thing is, look, you don't have to be top 10, even top 15. If they can even just get to 20th in the league, that's going to show some growth in the way they are on offense. This fast-paced, efficient, fun-loving, ball-sharing offense, that'll be enough to sustain success, in my opinion. So I know they don't want their identity to be what it is on the offensive end, to overwhelm the identity of the basketball team. But at the end of the day, it's kind of what you're built for. And so I think they've put good things in place. I think some good things have even trickled over from previous regimes, no lie. And
like what?
Share, please.
What?
It doesn't happen overnight, and you have to instill good work habits. Okay, and
I don't want anything from the past.
Hey, you be nice. Go on, Sean.
I will talk about how previous regimes would say you're really building the success for the guy who replaces you. And I'm not saying I'm not taking away anything from Mike Brown, because Mike Brown has a system and really has an attention to detail. So it's a fine tuning of things that were behaviors that were placed even with a lot of your pieces, and I'll use De'Aaron Fox because he is probably the one where it needed to matter the most. And I think you kind of reap some of the benefits of some of those teachings. Now, again, everything is the details are everything, and Mike Brown is the OCD detail coach that this Sacramento Kings needed.
You're really nice.
You're not so bad yourself.
I don't necessarily agree, and I'm not trying to be dramatic. But it was. I mean, you look at everything with the past regime in the past couple of years. As fans, you go depressing. As people that cover the team, you go, what? Like, this isn't sustainable in any professional sports leagues or teams or anything. And I get what you're saying. Like, De'Aaron Fox was there, and the tweaks are to put things around him. But at the same time, it was like there needed to be brand new everything, right? There was no foundation. There was no culture. There was no, like, De'Aaron didn't even have an identity of what type of player he was. We just knew he was fast. We didn't even know if he could lead or if he needed to be a number one guy. And I think it's so great that now you're seeing, not only because of roster construction, but because of what's been in place with a head coach, like, there's so many things that can change for this entire team. Now, it's bigger.
It's bigger than the head coach. I mean, what I was kind of alluding to was like the teachings of Rico Hines. Like, it's woven in the identity and the fabric of this organization. It's not just the players, man. It's like the organization looking at what it needs to be a successful team. The players are one thing, the organization is another, and you have two different pages. And I think someone like Rico, who really tries to bring that together and he was so impactful on both the organization and players as well that it changed the DNA. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's easy to hear someone hear what I'm saying and they go, oh, he's talking about Dave Yeager or Luke Walton. It's like, no, it's bigger than that. There's coaching staffs that really help change and mold players' work ethics and their beings and the way they approach being a professional basketball player.
And they just took it to another level. I hear what you're saying.
Correct.
For sure. Now we got to get to this fun part, because I feel like this time of the year, it's like, hey, NBA trade deadline's coming up. We see the news. I guess it's more like a rumor from Mark Stein about, hey, gauging interest in the availability of Matisse Thybulle. Do you think the Kings make a move at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I think they do. I don't know. It'll be, I think there's a move they'd like to make and probably several. I don't know that they can pull some of those off, but
do you have some names that we should look forward to, Sean?
What you got, Sean?
Yeah, Sean, what you tell us, huh?
Not really that. Like, thinking about, you can look at, hey, we need we being the Kings, they're saying, hey, we need obviously a 3-and-D or a stretch 5 or a rim protector or anything like that to help Domas. Those are things you would like to add. I don't know that you can go out there and get the type of player you want to add, if that makes sense, based on what you're willing to pass up. As I was trying to fix my computer here and listen to you guys, you were playing Truth or Trash, and you were saying, Truth or Trash, do they have to make a trade? And no, that's trash. They don't. I mean, and clearly they've been able to reach third place in the Western Conference without having to make a trade. Now, that being said, you might be, 3.5 games behind Memphis at number 2, but you're also 3.5 games from, I think, 10th or 9th. So
scary.
It gets to the point where it's like, should you, because do some of these moves equate to wins and losses? And I know, I do a podcast where the name Miles Plumlee comes up about 4 times a minute, and I just kind of I shrug at it because, yeah, in theory that would be great, but let's go back to where the Kings traded, Iman Shumpert, who wasn't really this super impactful player on the court, and you're bringing in somebody like Harrison Barnes, which obviously talent for talent is much better, but there's no statistic or analytic really for chemistry. So in doing so, you really kind of fractured a big portion of that locker room, and it was never the same. So, there's guys out there certainly that could, you look at, I don't know if they equate to wins and losses, but yeah, the Matisse Thybulle, it obviously makes sense. He's a defensive player. Look at someone like Josh Richardson. Look at somebody like Darius Bazley, who hasn't really made an impact in this league at all, but you look at him as a name out there that is going to be approaching restricted free agency, and they're could be something there. Even somebody like JaVale McGee, who doesn't really factor in Dallas at all, yet he can be a rim protecting type of player. Is it the right move? Probably not, but all these names will be circulated, and it's really going to be up to all these teams who've positioned themselves by virtue of a play-in tournament to be buyers at the trade deadline. So, it's sometimes the other team's trash is another man's trash is another man's treasure. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but we'll see as my heater kicked on. Sorry, guys. It's about 61 in this room.
You're fine, but honestly, when it kicked on, it kind of sounded like that Home Alone.
It did. It sounded like the Home Alone noise for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, you were at the NFC Championship game in Philly. I wanted to get to this, man. You've been at a lot of games over the years. Was that one of the most bizarre things you have ever witnessed in person?
100%. And I was asked, like, I was asking players, have you ever seen anything like that? Because to me, it reminded me of, like, I've covered a lot of high school basketball or high school football as well in this region. There are teams that don't have kickers, and they always have to go for two. And this was their version of that, not having a quarterback that could throw the ball, and that they're going to be running the ball the entire time. It was just surreal. You don't see that in the NFL, and it totally I mean, you just look at these guys on the sidelines, man. Their faces are long. They know that, look, they're professional athletes. They're going to accept the challenge, and even being down 4 scores, they're going to have the confidence they can come back and win. That's what they're going to tell you. Their faces said otherwise. I mean, they looked like they were just absolutely doomed. And we were trying to prognosticate, like, okay, what's this game going to look like in the NFC Championship in Philadelphia? And in the first quarter alone, it was all out the window. It was out the window because Brock Purdy was out, and that's fine. Here comes Josh Johnson, and he didn't set the world on fire. He looked like a mess the minute he got out on the field as well. Fumbles the ball, has 2 delayed games. I mean, the Philly crowd played a huge role in that. He didn't look ready. First postseason action since he came into the league back in 2009, bro. That is crazy. Think about that. It's crazy that the guy has been around. He's a former Sacramento Mountain Lion for crying out loud.
I mean, give him credit. There's something teams see in them to keep them around if they keep bringing them back.
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, it's weird because everyone pokes on. He's been on so many teams. I'm like, yeah, but a lot of times if you don't bring anything to the table, you're not going to be on an NFL roster for any amount of time. It's kind of crazy to think about that.
And Sean, really quick too. I mean, rumor has it that you played quarterback in high school. So were you at any point of this game going like, Shanahan, put me in, coach?
He sets a camera down, starts immediately warming up.
Two things. That's kind of capped because I was a tight end, but I was the 3rd string quarterback, much like Kyle Juszczyk was the freaking emergency quarterback.
Okay.
Is there an emergency that gets even remotely worse than what we saw in that NFC Championship? Why wasn't Kyle Juszczyk put out there to even throw once? Instead, you're going to throw with freaking McCaffrey?
Thank you.
What are they doing?
That's
hilarious. I don't know. To me, it was Kyle Shanahan saying, "Yeah, we didn't really practice this. This isn't." I mean, what are you gonna do, man? I mean, throw Juszczyk out there and just kill him? I don't know. It's just,
man, that's so rough. All right, I know we're up against on the radio side. We can hang out with Sean for a second on the stream, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna keep it live on YouTube.com/Sactown Sports 1140. We'll be back on the radio side in just a few minutes here on Sactown Sports. We're good, Chris? Okay.
Sweet.
Hi, Sean. We'll let you go in a second too. I just didn't want to awkwardly be like, all right, Sean, we have to go. It's like my least favorite thing about being back on the radio.
Heater?
You can hear it right now. You can definitely hear it right now.
If it was on like from the beginning, I'd just be like, oh, that's just like the sound that's there. White
tried
noise.
To block it. By the way, I saw your chat there. I graduated Elk Grove. I didn't play football at Elk Grove. I was at Douglas High School before that, but
shout out Douglas High School, Nevada.
Ryan Dinwiddie was amazing. Yeah, I went there to play baseball for 3 years and then came back.
Yeah,
because I sucked.
Wow.
So you hey, here's a theory. Do you think the Kings are keeping that open roster spot to mate? Well, it's not open right now. Deontay Burton has it, but obviously that deal expires before the deadline.
Right.
Do you think there's a chance they could look at the buyout market potentially?
Yeah, they could. I think especially with the way that with all the trade exceptions that they have, there's a lot of things they can get creative with, but takes 2 to tango, right?
Hey, I like that you're saying no. And Sean, that's my other thing too. I'm glad that you were saying trash, because look, there's going to be teams that are trying to take away certain pieces from the Sacramento Kings that are just not going to make sense for Monty McNair to move, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you identified what your expendable pieces are, and I just like for let's use Rashawn Holmes for an example. Like, if you're a team in any other NBA team, are they looking at him? Oh, we need Rashawn Holmes.
Right.
Like, and again, you're looking at him as an asset. The contract is what it is. You got to pay him money. No one wants that contract. So, yeah, I think it's tough. It's just really tough to be able to move some. Like, even Alex Len, like, you can find money to free up and you can find a team that's willing to do so, but I think what the problem is there's just not enough sellers necessarily. At least it has been identified. A lot can happen in a week. Like, look at someone like Toronto. Toronto's got all those pieces that can just work so well on other teams, and can they do it? Can they? Would you sell the farm for OG Anunoby, and even more so for Pascal Siakam? So
yeah, the Kings couldn't do those deals. They just couldn't.
No,
because goodbye, Keegan.
Yeah,
I'm keeping Keegan. I
forever.
I think he's really good, and I think he's going to get even better. I mean, it's just even the growth this year has been insane. 6'8"
I'll say this:
shoot.
If it was Siakam, it's fine, take him. But
no, 29-year-old Siakam.
I love Siakam.
I like him too.
Put Siakam around Domas, and you're looking at a team that could contend for a Western Conference Finals.
Oh. Sean,
don't say that.
I love positive Sean.
They need an absolute star at the 3, and I think that could. Every team has them. All the good teams have them.
Wow, Sean, I appreciate you hanging out for a few minutes, man. We'll have you on again soon, and hopefully we see you soon, man.
Sean, how many Lindsay
Chris.
Lohan albums did you own?
How many
Lindsay Lohan albums did you own?
Oh, because you guys played that song. I heard.
Yes.
That. I didn't have a Lindsay Lohan album.
God.
But I did see Mean Girls, Deuce. Get on. What are you doing?
Yeah.
How do you not see Mean Girls?
Yeah, that's
Thank
kind of
Again, here we go. This is classic Sean.
Yeah, where's
making
James
fun
Ham?
of people who don't see movies. You guys see every movie.
That's one you need to see. That's required viewing.
Okay, I'm gonna get right on that. Best part of that movie, probably Rachel McAdams.
Tina Fey is on line 1.
She's not in that movie. That's made up.
She made up the movie.
Did she really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, she wrote it.
And
Wow.
thank you. I was like, what's the word?
I don't know movies.
She made it up.
Okay, Sean, we will. Chris is doing an update too, so we'll let you go. But
Bye,
we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on with us, Sean. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Bye.